in particular of now today this big amount of elderly depend of the fact we have the important very important cohorts coming from the baby boomer after the Second World War and in the period of 60. So these people aged 064, 065 today entered in the aging people. So. And this amount, of course, it's very important because in the same time we have in Europe 30 years of low fertility and so low number of births. And when we compare the aged 65 and plus with 014, for example, of course, in Europe is 1.1. We have 1.1 elderly per younger. But if we consider, for example, Italy or Germany, this report is 1.5. So it's clear that we have very important differences in Europe. If I consider France, for example, this report is 0.96. It means that in France there are more 1.014 people, younger people, than old people. So we, at the point of total amount of the elderly, we have very important differences in Europe, and these differences depend of differences in the demographic process during these last 60 years. It exists because the European country has a different demographic history. But if we look in the future, it's my opinion, is for many years, certainly 40 years, to be continuous, because the aging in 2050, it will be the result of the demographic process starting from now until 2050. And today, the demographic processes are different in different countries. Perhaps it's a question without answer. I can give you my opinion. Certainly, we wait that continues, almost in the next 20, 30 years. Perhaps more, because the reason of my opinion is a scientific reason, of course, is the fact that when arrive in 60 and plus, the actual younger generations, certainly they could have a lower mortality than the elderly today because they have a better life. And we know that better life, high social classes, higher than before, produce automatically lower mortality. And it seems to me, it's my opinion, that this decrease in mortality for elderly will continue in the next decades. The problem is a very big problem. For me, is a problem without perfect solutions, because we have GDP of different states, very important for society, of course. But we have also very important question at individual level. Because if we move the aged retirement, is in German 65, in 2020 it will be almost 66, in Italy in 2020 it will be 67. So because we have this important role to reduce the number of years spent in retirement age. But if we have some people that start to work at 18, I think it's, if this is black worker, I think it's impossible at individual level to ask them to stay at in working age just until 67. So at the individual level, it's a very important problem. We have equity, we have actuarial fairness, pushing from people with higher mortality, low salary, low retirement, to people with lower mortality and higher salary. The average, it means to move this amount from a poor to rich. So the problem at individual level is very important. But of course, for the state, important is to control the welfare expenditure. And you control very well welfare expenditure if you consider the average. Because the big part of the people is in this poor part.